My name is Laurie Owens, and I'm the head of Parkhill School, and I just want to thank you all this morning. I think I've met everyone now. Thank you for coming. I wanted to talk about cyberbullying today because it's something that we're hearing a lot about on TV. Maybe your own child has experienced it, or it's something you're concerned about. I'm pretty informal by nature in my presentation style, so if you have a question, stop me. I'm not using a microphone because they're taping me, and I've got this one. It's just too much for me to handle. But if you can't hear me, if you need me to be louder, let me know. But I just wanted to start today talking about how the reality is that our kids spend more time interacting with media than they spend at school and with you guys. The average 8 to 18-year-old spends 7.5 hours a day online watching TV, movies, playing games, and listening to music or on the phone or texting. So that's more than they're doing. For some of them, it's more than they're sleeping. And some of them are texting while they're sleeping. Some of you talk to some of our high school girls, they've got that phone under the pillow. In the digital world, it's not a bad thing. You know, it's exciting. It has a lot of opportunities for our kids, but it's a world with a huge audience. And sometimes our kids don't recognize how huge that audience is and what the impact of that is, because they're reaching out, figuring out their identity, trying to establish who they are in the world, not realizing that they literally have a worldwide audience for some of the things that they're doing. Also, kids who crave recognition online are rewarded for boundary-pushing behavior, posting that video on YouTube, sending messages to friends, connecting, spreading gossip and rumors. And they don't understand yet that their actions may have consequences, or maybe they're not connecting those consequences with the actions. So that's multiple challenges for our students. It's multiple challenges for us as educators, for you as parents. So we'll talk about that a little bit and how that impacts and what you can do to kind of lessen that impact. So the good news is that kids are doing some really cool things online. They're connecting, creating, collaborating with others. They're communicating with friends of friends on sites such as Facebook, Twitter, posting pictures on Snapchat or Instagram or videos on Vine. They're learning the norms of communication. They're learning how to provide constructive feedback. They're learning how to build groups of people who share common interests. So I think we think a lot, especially as parents, of the dangers of the internet, but there's so much more positive about it. So I don't want anyone leaving here today being like terrified and cutting off all communication. And the good news is that most kids effectively navigate this world, and they learn to deal with the situations that arise. From time to time, they face situations involving online risk, and most of the time, it doesn't result in any serious harm to them. The large majority of kids just block messages or block contact from things that they know are inappropriate or they're uncomfortable with. But sometimes the kids we work with in our population here sometimes don't always see that risk, and I think are more vulnerable to some of the threats and the risks that are out there. So we'll talk about what we can do to kind of lessen those risks for them. Okay, so first of all, let's start with the definition so we're all on the same page. So cyberbullying is really just a form of bullying, but it uses technology like cell phones and the internet to bully or to harass another person. And it can take a lot of different forms. It could be sending me messages via text or email spreading rumors online, posting threats or hurtful messages on social network sites, stealing a person's account information, identity theft, or making fake accounts for people and pretending and saying hurtful things. Like I said, pretending to be someone else online, taking unflattering pictures of a person, spreading them through cell phones or online, sexting or circulating sexually suggestive messages or pictures about another person. So those are concerning things. So let's talk about how often it happens. And this is based on a study that the National Crime Prevention Council did in 2007. They haven't done a more recent one, but I would imagine that the statistics stand pretty similar. 40% of teens have been victims of cyberbullying in the past year. 18% of males and 16% of females report bullying others online. So it's not just that they're being victimized, but our teens are reporting that they're actually, some of them are engaging in this behavior as well. 3 out of 4 teens know who is bullying them. So it's not the stranger, who's 40 living in Iowa pretending to be a 16-year-old girl. It's someone who they know from their neighborhood, from a sports team, from their school. And 30% of teens desire to seek revenge on those who they feel have cyberbullied them. So then what we've got is this back and forth behavior. So the victim ends up being a perpetrator of the bullying, and it just goes back and forth and gets bigger and bigger. And that makes sense when emotions are involved. And this can be, when we're looking at cyberbullying, it can be one-to-one communication, but it can involve large groups of people. So it could be one person gets involved and then someone comments on that and says, oh, so-and-so is a hoe, and this person says, I saw her doing this last weekend, and oh, I know this about her, and she's so dirty, this, and then all of a sudden you've got 10, 15 people on one person. And why it matters, because bullying, mean people are a part of life. We've all encountered them. If you've grown up, you've encountered bullying, meanness in some form. But now, it's really magnified when you're talking about cyberbullying, because face-to-face bullying or harassment, it hurts, it's uncomfortable, but there's ways you can avoid it. You can not be around that person if possible. You can ask a teacher to move you out of a classroom. A child could switch schools, not have to see that person. But being faced at cyberbullying, online tools magnify the hurt, the humiliation, and the social drama. Because it's not just I walk over to Dee, I say something mean to her, and get the people at the table to start laughing about it, and then it ends. It's on there, so every time someone clicks on that Facebook page, someone else has seen it and made a comment, and it doesn't go away. Even if they pull it down, if someone else has already responded to it or reposted it, it can live on for a long time. It's more difficult to detect bullying in the online world. A lot of our kids are really computer savvy. They know how to hide things. They know how to use proxy sites and pick fake names and pretend they're someone else. And so it may not be clear who's actually doing the bullying. Whereas if somebody walks up to you after school and threatens to beat you up if you don't give them your lunch money, you know who the bully is. But online, it becomes a lot less clear. It's harder to disengage from it. Like I was saying, you could walk away, or you can have a friend be with you after school so someone doesn't steal your lunch money. But it's unrealistic to expect kids to disconnect from technology. We have a hard time getting them to pry a phone out of their hands. To not use the computer, they need computer for schoolwork, they need it for connecting. In the world we live in now, technology is just a part of our everyday life. and we're not going back. And it's difficult to remove once it's been posted. You know, you can remove it from one site, but somebody can move it around, and it's, you know, like we talk about all the time, nothing ever really goes away online. It's there, it's forever. Okay. So now that we've talked about how scary this is, let's see. Okay. Actually, I want to go back for a second. Oops. Hold on. Now hold on. There we go. I want to go back, because the other thing I want to say about, now I went too far, sorry, is that the anonymity of cyberbullying oftentimes makes it harsher. So I might be willing to call someone a jerk to their face, but that I might be willing to say things that are a lot worse and keep going online. If I don't have to stand in front of that person, suddenly the bully has become a lot braver, because they don't have to see the impact of the damage they're doing. And knowing that they can be anonymous gives them the freedom to be more mean, less accurate. There's not going to be someone saying, hey, that's not true. You know, it's just putting it out there. Excuse me. Hold on. Before I blow out your ears. Okay. And gossip spreads more quickly this way too, because if bullies don't feel like it matters whether they're accurate, if it doesn't matter what they say, how much they say, it just spreads. And then the next student, and maybe a student who would never bully another person, but they'll pass along that gossip. You know, oh, that's mean, he said that, but it must be true, because why would they say that? And then, oh, did you hear what so-and-so said about this person? Text, 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 post this, and it just snowballs. You know, and we don't want to stop the self-exploration of the kids, and the part of the anonymity of the internet can be good for kids, because they get to explore different identities, and especially through adolescence. This is the time that kids are trying on different hats. What kind of person do I want to be? Who are my friends going to be? What am I interested in? And being anonymous can help that. If you can go online and play a game with someone and try being maybe more assertive and a bolder person than you are in real life, that's a way to try something on low risk, and that's a healthy way to use anonymity. So we don't want to discourage kids from doing this, but we want to pay attention to it because it has a dark side to it as well. Okay. Okay, so what can you do if your kid is being bullied online? The first thing is you need to know that your kid's being bullied online. So before you can even address the issue, you need to be aware of that there's a problem. So communication, I mean, and I know it's hard with teenagers, the older kids get, the harder the lines of communications are, but having open communication and knowing what your child is doing online and who they're connecting with can help you be aware when your child's being bullied. And having conversations and asking, you know, even saying, today, you leave here today after school, you know, I watched this presentation about cyberbullying. I'm wondering if you've ever had anyone be mean to you online. Because sometimes kids are resistant to use terms like bully or harassment, but just saying, have you ever got into a nasty interaction, or has anyone ever said anything about you that hurt your feelings online, can open up that dialogue. But if you find out that your child has been bullied, you want to reassure your child of love and support. Now's not the time to be talking about, well, that's why you shouldn't be on Facebook anyways. I knew that was too mature for you, or, you know, I'm closing your Instagram account, you're not posting any more pictures, and we're taking your phone away. That's going to stop the communication. So being able to reassure your support, helping your child step away from the device. The hardest thing for our students sometimes is to not respond, to not go back and say, well, you said something mean about me, so I'm going to say something mean about you, and keeping that going. Or just to even keep looking at it and dwelling on it. So help them step away from the device, the computer, not permanently, not taking it away, suspending, but just, this is not healthy right now. We're going to take a break from looking at this. Let's block that person. Let's change, maybe open a new account, close that account, open a new one. If you can identify who the bully is, consider talking to the parent, depending on what you know about that parent, depending on the relationship. If there's any, that could go well or it could go horribly wrong. You kind of have to use your best judgment there. Consider consulting law enforcement, depending on the nature of how, if it truly meets the level of harassment, and usually that is a pattern of behavior, not a one-time incident. But there could be one-time incidents that are egregious enough, like a threat, I'm going to, kill you or come to your house or do something horrible to you. That would be enough to consult law enforcement. There definitely are federal and state laws in California that protect online communication and restrict what people are able to say online to others. But empowering your kid with steps they can take to stop the bullying. And really having a conversation, what do you think we could do? Who could we talk to, about stopping this? Talking to your students about, don't respond, don't retaliate, because it will just keep going. Excuse me. Blocking the bully. Reporting the incident to website administrators. Most of the major online, like Facebook, Twitter, Vine, those things, they have website administrators. Even PS games, Halo, those games, there's online administrators, and you can report someone for harassing or inappropriate behavior online. That's one way to go. Do not delete the messages. Save and print out anything that your child has received. You want to keep that in case the harassment, the bullying doesn't stop. You have proof if you do decide to go to law enforcement, or if it's an issue that comes up and becomes an issue in school or other places, you have proof that this happened. And when I've seen these messages printed out in school environment, you often see the responding to the back and forth piece of it, and it becomes a lot less clear of who's the bully and where it started. If you get a big chunk of 20 messages and it just looks like people just being really nasty with each other. So that's part of printing out everything, but also the not responding. Really encouraging your student to tell an adult, whether that's someone at school, whether that's you, whether that's a family friend, an older sibling, someone that they trust and can talk about, because this is pretty overwhelming to deal with this level, in some of these situations, the level of harassment and the just overwhelming nature of it, that it's everywhere they're looking. That's a lot for a child or a teenager to handle on their own. What we'd like to do instead of addressing an issue when it happens is prevent it in the first place. And so it really starts with educating yourself to become a cyber savvy parent. And that's easier said than done, because technology is changing constantly. And things like Facebook, I have teenage nieces and nephews who tell me no one's on Facebook anymore. That's where my mom is. My mom's on Facebook, so now I'm on Vine or Instagram or Snapchat. So knowing actually where your kid is online, what online sites are they frequenting? Who Who are the, and it goes the back and forth between as kids gets older, privacy, who do they text? Deciding how closely you monitor that. There's definitely software to block things online, but I tell you, for every piece of software that you can block something online as a parent, the kids can Google faster than you can install it on how to get around it. So instead of trying to block it, I think knowing a little bit about what the program is the way to address it, because then you can have conversations about it. Educate your kid about online safety issues, and I put some handouts in the back. I have a handout of the presentation, and as well as online safety tips for kids, and things to think about as a parent. But the kids should be thinking about what they write before they post things online. And talk about questions like, why am I even doing this? What's the purpose of me even posting this? Having kids think, why am I doing this? Am I doing this to be mean? Am I doing this because I think other people will be interested? There are valid reasons to post things, to put videos or to text someone. Who's my audience? Am I creating this for myself? Am I creating it because I want to create an impression to others? Am I trying to get my peers' approval by doing this? How much should I reveal? How much should I share about myself? Who might see this? I mean, on an aside, and this goes into more general cyber safety, but most employers are looking online before they hire. So it's so easy to check a job candidate's Facebook page. And if there's provocative things on that page or concerning, that's keeping people from getting positions. And a lot of our kids aren't thinking about these things down the road. Google your kid, see what comes up. Google yourself and see what comes up, because it can be pretty surprising. Use what your child is posting as a starting point for conversation. Why'd you post that? Why did you think that video was funny? Or what did you like about this? Or whether it's a quote or something, just to start that dialogue. So if you're having conversations about their online communication all the time, they're more likely to share with you when something's not going well. Discuss respect and empathy for others, because students will post things online that they would never consider saying to someone else's face. So if you're having conversations about, you posted that, how do you think that would make them feel? What were you hoping? Are you upset with that person? Did you want that to hurt their feelings, or were you trying to be funny? And if you can do that in a non-blaming way, I mean, if it's something egregious and they just threaten to, harm someone, I don't think that's the time to talk about what their intention is. But if there's just something that you find to be a little rude or unpleasant, to have that communication about, why did you decide to do that, in a really non-judgmental way, can help them start thinking about why they're posting what they post. And then lastly, discuss accountability. Whether students realize the impact of their behavior or not, they're still responsible for it. And once those words are out there, you can't get them back. So they have to take accountability. And kids are going to make mistakes. They make mistakes in person all the time. They get in fights, they get in arguments, they lose friends, gain friends, back and forth. And we seem to be able to handle that as parents and educators. We help them navigate that. And, okay, you're not friends with Susie right now. What happened? Do you think you guys will repair that, or what's going on? We let them kind of work those things out because we think that's part of normal, healthy adolescence. The same thing should be happening online. You wrote something really not very nice about Susie. You have to own that. And helping your kids own that, not say, well, she said this to me or this, and deflect from that, but to really own that I'm responsible for making those decisions online. Any questions about anything this is part of the handout that I put, but there's a couple resources. I think the best is commonsense.org. They have a lot of how to talk to your kids about cyber safety, what studies about what kids are doing now, what the concerns are. You know, in general, I think we always think of stranger danger whenever we think of danger to our children, but I think it's the acquaintance and the issues that happen between friends or former friends or that are way more risks to our kids. So there's a lot of good information. The National Council on Crime Prevention has information as well. So, excuse me. And then there's stopbullying.gov that has videos that you can watch with your kid and talk about some of these issues. Any questions about anything? Or thank you so much for coming this morning. Please take handouts in the back and help. I'm sure there's more food if you're still hungry, but thank you for coming.